The August heat in downtown Vancouver shimmered off the glass bus stop where a young girl named Alina stood, clutching her frayed backpack. She was only 9, barefoot from a broken shoe strap, waiting for a bus that rarely came on time. Then something caught her eye. A leather wallet, half buried beneath the bench. She opened it with trembling hands. Stacks of it. Enough to feed her family for months. Her pulse quickened. Across the street, a billboard flashed the face of billionaire David Langston, the man whose name was printed neatly on the card inside the wallet. Alina froze. She could walk away and no one would ever know. Or she could do what her mother always said. Right is right, even when it hurts. So she took a deep breath and boarded the next bus, heading straight toward a world she didn't belong to, and a meeting that would turn her life upside down. What happened next will shock you. Don't miss it. Hit like and subscribe to Canada's Heartfelt Tales for stories that restore faith in what's good. The glass doors of the downtown office tower slid open with a faint hiss as Alina stepped inside, the air conditioning hitting her like a wall. The marble floor gleamed beneath her dirt-smudged sneakers, and every footstep echoed louder than she wanted. She clutched the wallet to her chest as if it might vanish, her small fingers gripping the soft leather tight enough to leave marks. A receptionist looked up from her desk, eyebrows lifting at the sight of the little girl in a faded jacket. "Can I help you, sweetheart?" she asked, her tone polite but guarded. Alina swallowed hard. I need to give this back to Mr. Langston. It's his wallet." The woman blinked, clearly taken aback. "Mr. Langston." Her voice softened slightly. "Do you mean David Langston, the CEO?" Alina nodded. "It says so on the card inside." For a moment, the woman just stared, unsure if this was a prank or a miracle. Then she picked up the phone. "Mr. Langston, there's a young girl here. She says she found your wallet." There was a pause on the line. Then, "Send her up." The elevator ride felt endless. Alina's reflection stared back at her from the mirrored walls. Big brown eyes, messy hair, cheeks streaked with sweat and dust. She whispered to herself, "Do the right thing, even when it hurts." The words her mother always said before every tough day. When the doors opened, a man in a navy suit waited near the window, the skyline of Vancouver burning gold behind him. David Langston looked like someone out of a newspaper. Sharp, tired eyes and a watch that probably cost more than her family's rent. He turned as she approached. "You found this?" His voice was low, steady, but his eyes flickered with disbelief. "Yes, sir." She held it out with both hands. "I saw your card. I wanted to give it back." He opened it slowly, fingers brushing over the bills. Everything was there. He looked up, puzzled. "You didn't take any of it." Alina shook her head. "My mom says taking what's not yours makes your heart heavy." Something in his expression broke then. Not sadness exactly, but a quiet recognition. "What's your name?" "Alina." "Well, Alina," he said, closing the wallet carefully, "you just did something most adults wouldn't." She smiled faintly, not understanding the weight of what he meant. But the story didn't end there. Because David Langston, rich, respected and lonely, couldn't stop thinking about that little girl from the East Side. Later that night he looked her up. Her mother worked cleaning offices at one of his subsidiaries, Langston Facilities Management. Her salary barely scraped the edge of survival. The next morning, David walked into the operations floor. His usual calm replaced with quiet anger. He just reviewed the wage sheets. His company was paying cleaners half of what competitors did. "Who approved this?" he demanded. A tall man in a silver tie, the regional manager, stepped forward. "Sir, these contracts were negotiated years ago. Minimum compliance. Nothing illegal." David's jaw tightened. Legal doesn't mean moral. Meanwhile, Alina's mother, Mary Littlebird, was scrubbing conference tables in the same building, unaware that the man her daughter had helped was standing 10 floors above her, fuming over injustice done in his name. By afternoon, the two worlds collided. David appeared in the break room doorway just as Mary was rinsing her hands. "Mrs. Littlebird?" he asked. He turned, startled. Her first instinct was fear. Had she done something wrong? Yes, sir. I believe your daughter found something of mine yesterday, he said gently. I wanted to thank her. And you? Mary's shoulders sagged with relief, then pride. She told me what happened. I'm glad she did the right thing. David hesitated. Do you work full-time here? She nodded. 7 days a week if I can get them. He frowned. And your supervisor, Mr. Collins, does he treat you fairly? Her lips parted, but no sound came. There was too much truth behind that question. He runs things his way, sir. That was all David needed to hear. Later that evening, as the sunset bled red over the harbor, he walked into the boardroom and called an emergency meeting. The executives exchanged uneasy glances. Collins sat across the table, smug and confident. David spoke quietly but firmly. Yesterday, a child from East Vancouver returned my wallet. She had nothing, yet she gave back everything. That girl's mother works here, under conditions I wouldn't wish on anyone. Collins leaned back in his chair. With all due respect, sir, we run a business, not a charity. David's gaze sharpened. And what kind of business forgets its own humanity? Murmurs filled the room. Collins scoffed. You can't change decades of policy because of one sentimental story. David's voice rose slightly, carrying the weight of leadership. That sentimental story just exposed everything wrong with how we treat people. Starting tomorrow, every contracted worker gets full benefits and a living wage. Collins slammed his folder shut. That's financial suicide. No, David said calmly. It's redemption. The meeting ended in tense silence. But downstairs, Mary heard whispers spreading like wildfire. Something's changing. Days passed. Collins began targeting her. Petty write-ups, impossible deadlines. One afternoon, he cornered her in the supply room. You think the boss cares about you because of that wallet, he sneered. You're just a name he'll forget by next week. Mary's hands trembled, but she stood her ground. Maybe. But at least I can look at my daughter and know I didn't sell my soul to fear. Unbeknownst to her, a maintenance worker nearby heard everything. By the end of the day, the conversation had reached HR. The next morning, David walked into his office to find an anonymous message in his inbox. Check the surveillance footage. Collins, supply room, 4:42 p.m. He did. The audio was clear. Collins' voice, full of contempt. His words echoed through the speakers like poison. David called security. When Collins arrived that afternoon, still smug, still unaware, David was waiting. I used to think loyalty mattered more than decency, David said coldly. But you taught me otherwise. He turned the monitor around. Collins' face drained of color. You're finished, David said simply. Effective immediately. The door closed behind the disgraced manager, the sound final, satisfying. That night, David visited the east side for the first time in years. The streetlights flickered weakly above cracked pavement. He knocked on the little bird's apartment door. Alina answered, eyes wide. Mr. Langston. He smiled. May I come in? Mary stepped forward, cautious but polite. The apartment was small. 2 rooms, peeling paint, a photo of Alina and her late father taped to the fridge. I owe you both more than thanks, David said softly. Your honesty changed the course of my company, and I'd like to make sure it changes your lives too. He handed Mary an envelope. Inside was a job offer, assistant to the operations director with training included. Mary blinked through tears. I don't understand. Why me? Because integrity deserves opportunity, he said. You taught me that. Alina grinned. Mama, that means you work in the big office. Mary laughed through her tears. Looks like it, sweetheart. But the story didn't stop there. Over the next months, Mary proved herself beyond expectation. She streamlined processes, earned the respect of the entire staff, and within a year became operations manager, the very seat Collins once occupied. David visited often, watching quietly from the glass corridor as Mary led her team with calm authority. The same workers once ignored now stood taller under her care. And Alina, she never forgot that day by the bus stop. Every weekend, she volunteered at a shelter downtown, handing out warm meals and telling other kids, "Doing good can change everything." The final twist came unexpectedly. One afternoon, during an investor summit, David stepped onto the stage. Cameras flashed. He told the story of a lost wallet, a poor girl, and a mother who reminded him that success without empathy is just noise. When he finished, the audience stood in applause. Outside, reporters swarmed. Among them, Collins, now working as freelance media. He avoided eye contact, but David stopped, looked directly at him and said quietly, "You were right about one thing, Collins. Actions do echo. You just never imagined whose would last longer." The next day, the Vancouver Chronicle ran the headline, "From cleaner to executive. How a child's honesty transformed Langston Industries." In the East Side apartment, Mary clipped the article and framed it on the wall beside Alina's school drawings. It hung there as proof that sometimes goodness really can win. And as the city lights glowed outside, Alina looked up at her mother and asked, "Mama, do you think Mr. Langston still remembers me?" Mary smiled. "He remembers what you taught him, and that's even better." The camera would linger here, on the warm light spilling from the window, on the laughter that had once been lost returning to the heart of a family, on the quiet ripple of one good choice rewriting the fate of many. Then a slow zoom on the framed article. A single line beneath the headline reads, "Honesty builds empires stronger than gold." Cut to black. And the narrator's voice, steady, full of emotion, closes the moment. Sometimes the smallest act of integrity can change the shape of a nation's heart. Stay with us for more stories that remind us who we are. Like, share, and subscribe to Canada's Heartfelt Tales, where every story begins with truth. As the months passed, the story of the lost wallet became more than just a local headline. It became a quiet legend whispered in classrooms, coffee shops, and boardrooms across Vancouver. Alina, now a little taller and braver, walked past the same bus stop every morning on her way to school. The bench was still there, worn and dented, but to her it wasn't just metal and paint anymore. It was the place where her life had turned toward hope. Mary, standing by the office window high above the city, watched workers leave for the day. People who were no longer invisible, people whose stories mattered. She smiled, knowing the change wasn't luck. It was choice, truth, and courage rippling outward from a single act of honesty. And David Langston, the man once defined by wealth, had learned that true success isn't measured in profits but in the lives you help rise beside you. The company he once ruled now breathed with fairness, compassion, and purpose. In the soft light of evening, Alina's laughter echoed through their small apartment. Mary joined in, her heart lighter than it had been in years. Sometimes the world doesn't change through grand speeches or power. It changes when one person dares to do the right thing, even when no one's watching. If this story touched you, show it some love. Hit like, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Canada's Heartfelt Tales for more stories that remind us what humanity still looks like.